Hello. Today I want to do another video on Trump. Why did Trump betray America? There's no question regarding that he has betrayed America. He wants more immigration than ever. He passed the bump stock ban, and then now he's trying to get these black rappers out of jail. He passed prison reform. He gives more aid to Israel than any other president before. Under his watch, the FBI has ramped up the war on dissidents. He tried to start a war with Iran and Syria. He ramped up sanctions against Russia, against Iran. He's escalated the Iran conflict. He only gives tax cuts to billionaires. And he has done nothing to fight censorship. So Trump has essentially become Jeb Bush 2.0. Just look at his policies. His administration is staffed with globalists and neocons he supposedly fought against to win the nomination. His national security advisor is John Bolton, and his Secretary of State is Mike Pompeo. That alone should tell you all you need to know about Trump and his intentions. Now, the question is why? Why did Trump become Jeb Bush 2.0? Today I want to look at some theories to explain the reason behind Trump's reversal. So let's take a look at the theories one by one. The first theory would be the neocon takeover theory. I think there's substantial proof behind this theory. There are very few based people in Washington to begin with, and most of the people at hand were neocons. The neocons launched a sustained attack in coordination with the media to remove Steve Bannon, Michael Flynn, and sideline Stephen Miller. Trump was feeling emasculated by the media calling Bannon the real president, and the media was using Flynn as an example of how Trump was a Russian agent, despite there being no proof to back that point up. Mueller and the FBI put further pressure on him by investigating Flynn and Manafort, raising the specter of a next Watergate. Furthermore, Republican senators like McCain, Sassy, and Graham also joined the Democrats on an attack on the MAGA crowd. Feeling that he needed support from some direction and needed to let off some pressure, he expelled the MAGA crew. Then the GOP closed ranks around him, lent him their support, and in exchange, Trump was coaxed into putting people like Bolton, Kelly, and Pompeo in critical positions by Ryan and McConnell, who controlled both houses at the time. The neocons isolated Trump and gained a monopoly on access to his ears, and used the opportunity to rail the MAGA agenda and direct Trump towards their pet projects, which is aid and wars for Israel, hostility to Russia, more tax cuts, more immigration, and deregulation. Trump is like a befuddled king, surrounded by conniving and selfish courtiers, pouring poison into his ears. That would be the first theory. The next theory is more blackpilling. This is the Manchurian candidate theory. The theory goes that Trump was always a pawn of the tribe, having married his daughter to them and doing business with them for lifelong. After all, he's a real estate developer in New York, and you can't get by in New York without tying the knot, or at least being on friendly terms with them. Trump's presidency was simply a ploy to lull Goys into a false sense of security until the demographic destiny was fully sealed. Now, I personally am hesitant to believe this. First of all, the demographic destiny was always sealed. It was past the point of no return all the way back in 2000 to 2004. Obama's victories affirmed that. Demographics have been locked in for some time now. The only thing that can now ruin the whole globalist master plan is that if whites awakened and started to revolt. Trump's presidency has made that dangerously probable. Whites are more woke than ever now in the United States, at least in the past 50 years, and increasingly paying attention to their disposition and taking their own side. Many former conservatives like Tucker, Ann Coulter, Stefan Molyneux, Rush Limbaugh, and Lou Dobbs have become woke to the 14 wars and subscribe to it in all but name. Trump's election broke the running narrative of a contest between socialism versus capitalism, or Christianity versus liberalism. Now the narrative is entirely about anti-whites versus whites, and this is something the elite have long struggled to avoid. The best outcome for them would have been if Jeb or Ted Cruz had gotten the nomination and the narrative remained capitalism versus socialism and that nonsense. And they put immense money and resources into it. Adelson and the Kochs spent hundreds of millions to beat Trump in the Republican primary, and the entire media, academia, entertainment triangle spent billions of worth airtime and resources to break him and failed. If Trump really was a plant, I doubt they would have put so much effort into it. Hell, the Federal Reserve even jacked up interest rates to harm him at the risk of crashing the economy. This is how much they feared the consequences. But there is one solid evidence for this theory. It's that his cabinet from the start was filled with elite bankers, greedy plutocrats, unworthy socialites, and military-industrial complex guys like James Mattis. Furthermore, his daughter is married to the tribe, and Trump himself had personal connections with Epstein. The degree to which those connections ran is disputed. Next theory is blackmail and extortion. The theory goes that they have something on him. It is highly likely that Trump is a pedophile and a child molester, as he has long had a history of sexually fixating on young girls, including his own daughter. Plus, he has gone to Lolita Island with Epstein, where hundreds of underage girls have been sexually molested by the rich and powerful, like Bill Clinton, Ehud Barak, and many others like them. Plus, Trump has ties to the New York mob and has often bragged about evading taxes. It's very likely that he is linked to illicit activities like drugs and prostitution. Prostitution, in particular, is a sort of a family tradition, as his grandfather ran a whorehouse in America. And he most likely, like any billionaire, probably has a lot of black money, as we can gauge from his refusal to release his full tax returns, like every other president. So most likely the FBI knows that they can put Trump out of business by exposing fraud and his under-table dealings, or they can destroy his fortune by using the IRS to batter him down. Plus, Trump is known as the king of bankruptcy and is up to his eyeballs in debt. Ensnaring in elites in debt and then enslaving them is a time-honored tradition of the banking class. The Rothschilds did it with Churchill. Perhaps they're leveraging Trump similarly. Then there's the option of direct threats. They'll put him in jail if he doesn't cooperate. Perhaps if he didn't turn full neocon, the Mueller report would have been different and there would have been an impeachment proceeding. Perhaps they're threatening to kill him like JFK, or simply threaten to destroy the business empire and drive the Trump family into destitution if he doesn't comply. The banks and corporations are certainly in a position to do so, and Trump, being the spoiled rich boy he is addicted to comfort and cannot bring himself to sacrifice his wealth for the nation. Furthermore, I think that he fears for his family as well, as the FBI can and has done in the past, targeted the children and relatives of powerful politicians that went against them. So I think Trump might also fear that they might put his sons in prison or begin a legal harassment campaign against his family. They're already doing it to many of Trump's close supporters like Roger Stone. What's to say that it can't extend to his own family? Now, the next theory is, I think this is something I personally am more inclined to believe in. The theory is that Trump is a moron and is probably senile, and this is rooted in strong evidence. Trump repeatedly forgets things, speaks at the rhetorical and grammatical level of a fifth grader, is ignorant about everything ranging from the nuclear triad, international trade, basic protocols of diplomacy, geopolitics, science, and is even ignorant on things like why the Civil War happened and who Lincoln and Jackson were. I mean, he went to the Republican convention and said that he had just learned that Lincoln was the first Republican president. And he said on radio show that President Jackson was furious because the Civil War was happening. Actually, Jackson had been dead for years by the time the Civil War started. Even if you don't know these things, why on earth would you say them out loud? This is just a matter of common sense. He is immature, incapable of etiquette, vindictive, petty, shallow, and is a massive asshole, to be honest, who deprived his mentally handicapped nephew from his rightful inheritance out of spite. He's the stereotypical New York asshole, not some fierce patriot like Hitler or some noble Aryan like Augustus. Plus, everyone around him has called him a moron. Tillerson, Scaramucci, John Kelly, and even Ann Coulter, his biggest supporter was. So Trump, being the senile man-child he is easily convinced by flattery and is easily wounded by mockery. Mocked by the media into firing Steve Bannon, and sycophants like Bolton, Pompeo, and Mnuchin captured his ears as they kiss his ass 24/7. Ann Coulter herself has said that Trump cannot take constructive criticism. He can't stand people who tell him the harsh truth and offer constructive criticism, like Ann Coulter and Steve Bannon, both of whom he has turned on. But he loves his ass kissers. So he is manipulated into betraying his allies, and his desperate desire to be loved has caused him to abandon his divisive MAGA agenda and pick a safe, kosher Republican agenda. He doesn't know any better, and all his courtiers put poison into his ears, and he thinks that this is sage advice. This has taken a bit of heat off of him. The next theory is the most improbable, but I'll still go into it. The theory is that Ivanka has pushed out the MAGA crew and ruined him. There is some fact to that. He has a long history of sexually desiring his own daughter, often in public. Ramsey Paul gave a good take on this. He theorizes that he suffers from the Madonna whore complex, where he has sexual relations with disreputable women, hookers, porn stars, but he loves the pretty, pure Ivanka. Ivanka is fully in bed with the global homo agenda. She is married to one of them. She converted to Judaism. Her kids are Jewish, and she hangs around the degenerate New York elite circles. Plus, she is easily manipulated, as she seeks status more than anything. And Steve Bannon said that she is dumb as a sack of bricks. All her policies are hard leftist, ranging from literal global homo propagation, empowerment for women, and aid to Africa. And Ivanka, having Trump's ears and his heart, easily manipulates him into removing his worthy counselors and replacing them with neocons. There is some truth to this, but I find it hard to believe. The idea of a US president sitting up and down on the word of his bimbo daughter beggars belief, even with the Mexicanization of American politics and demographics. In my personal opinion, it's a combination of neocon takeover and Trump. He's a senile man-child who can't take criticism and wants to be loved. The media and FBI pressures him into kicking out loyalists and putting neocons into office. Trump, being the ignorant buffoon he is dragged by the nose by his neocon courtiers and has been led to derail the MAGA agenda. This is my personal theory. I think there's a lot of truth to the FBI angle as well. Trump does have a lot of shady dealings. He was the king of bankruptcy. Most likely he's in debt to them. Who knows? I would like to hear your thoughts on the matter. If you have any separate ideas or you think some other combination of these theories are true, please let me know in the comments below. I'd like to hear your ideas and I'd like to have a genuine discussion on this topic. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. As always, please share and subscribe if you like my content, and watch out my channel for similar content.